Right then, so don't quite know why part 4 has got an end of part 3 on it, but there you go. So this next scene was quite difficult to shoot because this is all in the front room of where Gavin was living at the time, and we would just use this kind of handheld type shot just to try and establish where everybody was in the room, where they were sitting in relation to where the camera was going to be. It was just difficult kind of being stood in the room, which is quite small, thinking, right, where we're going to put the camera so that we get everybody covered, or the best angles to try and get everybody in there, but also, it makes sense so you know where people are and where Billy is. He stood at the back room in relation to everybody sat on the couch. I don't really know whether the fact that sometimes they're looking at the camera, sometimes they're not, works so well. Essentially, this shot is Billy. It's his point of view, but it's a static shot, and it might have done better being handheld. We don't look from their angle, because when we looked up at Billy as though we were sat on the couch, it didn't quite look right. And this shot here is actually from the door, as though that was Joe's original point of view. Does that even make fucking sense? I have no idea. It's all a little bit kind of. Does it work? Because this is the TV. This is the point of view of the TV. It's kind of a bit juggled. I think I get away with it. We just about kind of get away with establishing where everything is and it working, but probably could have done a bit better. This little bit needs trimming very slightly in terms of the conversation. It's the timing's out. I haven't said by now that this is still a rough cut quite clearly, fucking obviously, but in terms of rehearsals, we basically, Zara came on board about 6 weeks before we started filming, because I already booked some holiday off work, and that was the intention of when we were going to film. So really, rehearsals for all the actors, the time that we got together was about 2-3 weeks before we started shooting. By the time we'd got everybody on board, and that also included people working, so it was odd evenings, if that. We still worked on the script as well, and a lot of the good bits, to be honest, are actually ad-libbing bits, like that bit. I mean, that was MILF. This bit, look at Amy on the right. Look at she's looking all pissed off. On the right, what we're talking about, left. Helen on the left. Here is where she's starting to just crack up a bit. She does really well there she goes. She does really well to hide behind the cup, but she's trying very hard not to laugh and failing miserably. Good girl, just about got it back. There we go. But yeah, that's a great little... I cut a trailer together and put pretty much all that speech on from Toby, because he does that really, really well, and I still quite like that bit of film within a film within a film, because technically that's what this whole malarkey's about. Music's still out on this bit. The reason I put the music over the top was, or underneath even, was it calls forward to the very last scene, or one of the last scenes, when they're in the cinema and it's all done. Oh, spoiler alert, but you've probably seen this already. So yeah, the music doesn't quite work with this speech. It's supposed to be the kind of, building up, really encouraging. Yeah, come on everybody, let's do it. Don't know whether Gavin really gets it across as well as I would have hoped so, but again, my fault. Didn't have enough time. But it's okay. It needs trimming a bit. It needs a bit of working on. Likewise with this little montage, Beta Band playing over the background, Round the Bend, great tune. Would like to keep it on, but probably can't because I won't get the money for it. But these shots here are actually that is the crew that was working behind the scenes. We ended up just putting bits and pieces in where we were trying to fill it out, to be honest. Those are that's me in the background, I think, stood in as we were shooting the previous scene. We just needed bits to stick in a montage and didn't film enough for it. That was Charlie, the sound guy, in a sandwich sat against the wall, and just whacked it in, because we could get away with it. Nobody knows that was the actual cast and crew. That little kind of cut doesn't quite work so well. I quite like the shot of them looking in the camera, but it's a bit loose around the edges. Watching this again, particularly this sequence, that the editing it's not quite there. Little frames need trimming here and there just to kind of tighten it up a little bit. Remove some of the gaps. It's rough, but it's rough cut. So what the fuck do you expect? There is a line there somewhere, but I can't remember what it is that he said. Nah, I can't remember what it is. Good old Chavez. There's some guys that stood, you can probably just see the shadow of their head just around the corner, that were getting really pissed off because they were proper Chavez, and they were like, "Oh, you taking a piss, like?" So yeah, it was quite hairy because that was a dodgy street in the middle of Gateshead that we were filming those Chavez on, and real Chavez were not happy that we were taking the piss out of them. So this is Jenny, which was I can't remember her fucking name now. Natalie, I think her name was. I can't remember. I've just looked at the credits to double check and I've completely forgotten. She was really good actually, but I think she comes across a bit flat, even though that wasn't my intention. She actually acts the way that I wanted her to act. She's chavish, she's got the hair, she's got the earrings, she's got the accent. But what I wanted to try and get a character in, a bit like Joe's gay but not obviously gay, kind of breaking that stereotype. I wanted to get a Chava character in, young girl, that ended up actually being logical, under control, gets everything sorted out, and is actually the catalyst for finishing the film off, because she steps in. You know, you wouldn't expect Chavs to be able to do that. This little bit with the old fella didn't quite work. That's Nick, friend of families, I think. Love that shot though. Joe does really well. But the little bit of Nick with the old guy kind of stood there going, I want to go out. This doesn't work. We put it in, but it just, it's crap. Really doesn't work. Really doesn't work. It sounded good on the paper, and probably if we'd have done it better. I mean, it might just be an editing thing. Maybe just to kind of trim it a little bit, it might work better. But again, just, you know, I love that shot of it going, MILF going down the hill in the wheelchair, but it just doesn't tie in with the. It's not obvious of you know, who's taking the granddad out and all that lot. This little football bit was actually quite nicely shot and cut together. I quite like this kind of handheld, getting in the middle of stuff. Although that bit doesn't quite work so well for him to twat it to then knock the camera over. And how bad's that? That's I think that's Paul Green is sat holding the tripod. We threw the football gently at it, and he just rocks it, and then we had to catch it underneath, so we didn't actually break the camera. This is one of the bits where she's just slightly flat. You know, I wanted her to kind of come like, come on, you know, it's fine, don't worry about it. But I don't know whether in the actual execution she just comes across as not emotionless, but not quite what would have worked. But you know, there you go. It's done now. This is 7 years ago, so, you know, it's not like I can do reshoots. I've just got to use what I can get and work with it. And that, you know, you can't cut this because it's camera shot in one, and then they do that, and there's too much of a gap in the middle of it. But, you know, what are you going to do about it? Reshoot it? Well, it'd be nice, but we can't. But, yeah, this whole little kind of montagey bit, it's not too bad. It's trying to establish... And I don't know whether it did enough. He goes to make the film, everything's going a bit wrong, MILF's falling over, it's all a bit crazy. Jenny comes along, she saves the day, she gets the dolly, and everything's working better. But, you know, like I say, just trim it a bit, it should work. Can't beat finishing off on the Chavas. Quality times. Fucking hate that. So, yeah, see you in part 5.